Now we see the developmental factor of the middle ear. This middle ear develops from the endoderm of tubotympanic rhesus. It is the endoderm of tubotympanic rhesus, which gives rise to auditory tube or Eustachian tube, auditory tube and mastoid process. Middle ear develop from the endoderm, from the tubotympanic rhesus. Rhesus means a gap. From it will also give rise to auditory tube and the mastoid process. Well, now we'll see about the development of the, and it is well developed before birth. Middle ear is well developed during the birth only. It is the full size during the birth. Now this malleus and incus, these both develop from the first bronchial arch. First bronchial, also called first pharyngeal arch cartilage. First pharyngeal arch cartilage, which is called as Meckel's cartilage. Meckel's cartilage. Malleus and incus. These two ossicles develop from the first pharyngeal arch, that is the Meckel's cartilage, whereas stapes develop from the second bronchial arch cartilage, second bronchial or second cartilaginous arch. Second bronchial arch cartilage, that is called as, it is the Meckel's cartilage. Second cartilage is Richard's cartilage. See here, two ossicles are from the first cartilage of the first pharyngeal arch, cartilage of, that is the Meckel's arch. One steps from the second bronchial arch, second pharyngeal arch, Richard's cartilage. Developmental factor. And they are well developed before birth. They are like the adult. They are well developed before birth. I mean at the time of birth. During birth, I mean rather. They are like the adult. They are well developed at the time of the birth. Now we'll go to the blood supply. Blood supply. Blood supply of the middle ear. Blood supply from the tympanic artery. Tympanic artery from the maxillary artery. Middle meningeal artery. Middle meningeal artery. That's the middle meningeal artery. It gives two, petrosal superior and tympanic. It gives petrosal and superior tympanic. Superior tympanic. Then comes stalo-mustard branch from the posterior auricular artery. Tylomastid branch. Tylomastid branch from posterior auricular artery. Tylomastid branch from the posterior auricular artery. Then ascending pharyngeal artery. Then from ascending pharyngeal artery also gives branch. Ascending pharyngeal artery, tympanic branch from internal carotid artery. Internal carotid artery also gives here tympanic branch. I repeat, from the maxillary artery, tympanic artery. From internal carotid artery, tympanic artery. Stylomastid artery from the branch from the posterior auricular artery. Middle meningeal artery gives two branches, petrosal, superior temporal. Ascending pharyngeal artery also gives middle ear. See, this point you have to note. The maxillary artery is a branch of external carotid artery. Ascending pharyngeal artery is also branch of external carotid artery. Isn't it? And this middle ear also supplied by both external carotid also, because internal carotid artery gives here tympanic branch. This point has to be noted. Middle ear is supplied by both external carotid and internal carotid artery. Well, now we'll go to the venous drainage. The venous drainage will be drained into the pterygoid venous plexus, pterygoid venous plexus, then superior petrosal sinus, superior petrosal sinus. Pterygoid venous plexus is popularly called as peripheral heart. Peripheral heart. You know there is one more peripheral heart in the soleus gastrocnemius in the lower limb. Similarly, it is also one of the peripheral heart. Pterygoid venous plexus. Two peripheral hearts are in the body. This point has to be noted. And superior petrosal sinus, which is a fold of dura mater. Well, now we'll go to the lymphatic drainage. Lymphatic drainage. They will drain into parotid lymph nodes. Then superior deep cervical lymph nodes are parotid lymph nodes, superior cervical lymph nodes. Now we'll go to the nerve supply. Tympanic plexus. Tympanic plexus. It is formed by ninth cranial nerve. Ninth cranial nerve is glossopharyngeal nerve. Glossopharyngeal nerve plus Glossopharyngeal nerve plus superior and inferior, superior and inferior corticotympanic plexus. Corticotympanic, superior and inferior corticotympanic from sympathetic plexus, from sympathetic plexus around internal carotid artery. Tympanic plexus formed by the glossopharyngeal nerve, which is the ninth cranial nerve, plus superior and inferior corticotympanic nerves. They are arise from the sympathetic plexus around internal carotid artery. Well, it is regarding the. Now lastly we will see about the applied aspect. Applied aspect, last but not least, it is regarding the nerve supply, ninth cranial nerve, superior corticotympanic, inferior corticotympanic from the sympathetic plexus, which lies around the internal carotid artery, is the nerve supply. Well, now we will go to the applied anatomy, last but not least, the inflammation. Inflammation, you know the inflammation. Any inflammation from the nose, inflammation from the nose, from the throat, nose, throat, auditory tube also called as Eustachian tube, auditory tube will spread to the middle ear. This point has to be noted. It is very much important to the pediatrician, ENT surgeon. Any infection of the nose, children has got the very much severe cold, there is a simultaneous pain in the ear, but the infection goes to the middle ear through auditory tube, because nasopharynx and the middle ear communicated by the auditory tube. Well, any throat infection, any pharyngitis will also spread to the middle ear, and this inflammation, this referred pain has to be remembered. Now if there is a severe infection in the middle ear, it may rupture. The tympanic membrane may rupture. Severe infection, there is a rupture of tympanic membrane. Tympanic membrane, and the pus may comes through the out of the ear. Severe infection, the tympanic membrane may rupture. The discharge will start. Pus discharge may start from the ear, and under certain condition we have to puncture paracentesis or myringectomy. Paracentesis, also called myringectomy, has to be done. Myringectomy means puncture of tympanic membrane. Puncture of tympanic membrane has to be done. The middle aspire has to be done. That procedure called as myringectomy. Now, what is the safe place? What is the ideal part? Because posterior-superiorly blood vessels and nerve. Posterior-superiorly blood vessels and nerves. Anterior-superiorly anterosuperiorly. Anterosuperiorly membrane near to the auditory tube. There is a auditory tube is very nearer. Anterosuperior. Then comes anteroinferior. Anteroinferiorly there is membrane related to the internal carotid artery. Internal carotid artery, anteroinferiorly there is a carotid canal. Hence, safer place is, which is safer is posterior-inferior. Safer is posterior-inferior is the ideal. Is the ideal because posterior-superiorly we cannot approach. A ENT surgeon cannot approach posterior-superiorly because there is a chances of injury to the blood vessels and the nerves. Anterosuperiorly he cannot approach, he may injure the auditory tube. Anteroinferiorly there is a membrane is related to the internal carotid artery. Hence, these are not the safer place. Only one is the ideal and safer approach is posterior-inferior part. Posterior-inferior part, it can be seen in the cone of the light also. Posterior-inferior part of the tympanic membrane is ideal, is a safer, is ideal and safer for the meningotomy. Meningotomy is the process, the puncturing, where the pus has been removed, the pathological things has been removed through this meningotomy procedure. Now lastly, we will see about the any. We have seen, once again I tell you, any injury to the tegmen tympani, there may be chances of discharge of CSF. CSF means cerebrospinal fluid may be occurred. And any injury, any severe infection in the middle wall, in the medial wall, there is involvement of facial nerve, which is the seventh cranial nerve. Severe infection, this nerve may be also get infected and irritated. This leads to facial palsy. Facial palsy is also called as Bell's palsy. Bell's palsy is occur. It is regarding the, and this dural, any infection may go to the dural venous sinuses also. Even the infection may go to the meninges. Even infection may go to the cerebrum, temporal lobes. Infection may spread to the temporal lobes also. Infection may go to the meninges also. Hence, it is wise to approach ENT surgeon. Any minor infection middle ear, don't neglect. It is wise to approach. And anatomy, without a ENT surgeon must know this anatomy of the middle ear. If the middle ear is must be studied by the ENT surgeon, if he doesn't know, his knowledge becomes incomplete. If a ENT surgeon doesn't know anatomy of the middle ear, what we have discussed here, we have discussed the middle ear, anatomy of the middle ear. If it is unknown to the ENT surgeon, his knowledge becomes incomplete. He will be an inexperienced ENT surgeon. This factor has to be known to the ENT surgeon. Hence, it is regarding the ENT surgeon and it is the medial ear, and it is very much important to the exam point of view also. And please ask me any doubts are there. Please be in the house. Don't leave the house without any reason. Be safe. Be studious. Any doubts? Do call me. Please take care. Bye.